I contacted some people that I know in Lithuania. We found a good specialist. I went to see him, and diagnosis, like Dominic, diagnosis was in 30 seconds.
Hey, so I am here in Kaunas, Lithuania right now. I was here on another project on medical tourism, which I don't know if that's out yet, but if it is, I'll put a link in the description. We had a fellow who came from Canada to Lithuania to get hip surgery. And while I was here, by sheer coincidence, I met a new friend who spent many, many years in Canada and had a very bad experience in the healthcare system. So I'm here with my new friend, Žilvinas. How are you today?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Very good, very good. So yeah, so we had dinner, and you were telling me about how you lived in Toronto for about 20 years, yeah?
Yes.
20
that's
years.
Correct. Yeah.
And yeah, just tell me about what your experience in the healthcare system was like.
I came as an immigrant. Well, my parents brought me as an immigrant to Canada, and so as any immigrant, you try to make living, so you work hard, extra hard. So by working extra hard, 10 years or 12 years, I started to have health issues, So one of them was varicose veins. So
in your foot there, yeah.
In the foot. Yeah. In the foot, I got varicose veins that, so I had blood spots, first pain, and then blood started pooling at my ankle. I didn't pay much attention at the beginning, but then I started to looking for answers. So first I went to my family doctor. Obviously, so I book appointment, I go see him, and so he looks at my foot, listens a little bit to me. Well, it's like, I don't know what time they have there, 5 minutes or so, they rush you always out of the office. I don't know why, but so in those few minutes, he said to me, look, just wear compression sock. And looks like you will wear it for the rest of your life. That's what my family doctor told me. I'm 30 years old or so, I don't remember exactly. Young guy, I have pain in leg, was just diagnosed that I'll have a compression sock for life. So I walk out from his office with mixed feelings, really sad, depressed almost, And
at this point, is the pain pretty bad?
Yes. Yes, well, that's, as I said, I started looking for help. At the beginning, I sort of ignored it, but when the pain started kicking in, I said, okay, have to look at this issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, so he told you you're going to have to wear a compression sock for the rest of your life, and there was no talk at all about surgery or ways to fix the root of the problem?
No, really, no remedy. That's what he implied, and I trust doctor, right?
Yeah, as anyone would, right?
Yeah, as anyone would. So I didn't even do any research, nothing. I go home sad, I do want to get a second opinion, so eventually a year or so later, I do find somebody by coincidence, total coincidence, through my job connections, let's say, through just coincidentally, I met this doctor. He says, look, I'm a vein doctor, and just come to see me in my office. So I did go to see him, and so he did ultrasound, and he said the same thing to me. He says, well, you inoperable, you don't need operation, just wear the compression sock, and I was in pain, and I accepted that's the reality, so I have to, from a second person, from the second doctor, I hear the same thing, so really,
Yeah. So the compression sock itself, it helped with the pain and the mobility, or not much?
Well, the best is what I notice if I sleep, the symptoms go away. You know, less pain. Sleeping. You know, the sock. It's very difficult to put that sock on, and does it help? I guess it doesn't progress, you know. So maybe that's how I would say, you know, the pooling of the blood maybe was not progressing in ankle, because my understanding eventually, if you don't treat the pooling of the blood, the ulcer will develop on ankle, you know, open wound.
Yeah, and that's dangerous stuff. Like, you can lose your foot from that. Right?
Probably, you know, the next step is gangrene, I would say. I don't know. Yeah. You know, I really, thanks God, didn't go that far. But
So it didn't go that far because you came back home, right?
That's correct. You know, again, totally by accident. I came back home to Lithuania, and I said, okay, well, I'll go buy some compression socks. So I walk into a store, and this woman, we start talking, you know, and she tells me, you can make operation. I said, really? It's unbelievable, you know, like I'm not... I wouldn't say I'm oblivious or so walking through life not thinking, you know, what I'm doing. You know, it's just I was pre-programmed by two doctors that there is no operation, you know. And so I said, okay, you know. So I contacted some people that I know in Lithuania. You know, we found a good specialist. I went to see him. And diagnosis, like Dominic, diagnosis was in 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, wow. You know, like, well, you know, as long as it takes to switch on the ultrasound machine and put it on an ankle and on a leg in two spots, you know. Yeah. So he looked in two spots on a leg, says, well, you know, one highway, which is vein, you know, in our bodies, is moving wrong direction. That's exactly how he said. She said, well, the valves are not working properly in one vein, you know, we'll close it with laser operation, and it will be painless, and then you'll get back your life, quality of life.
Mm-hmm. And so they got you in for the surgery. How long after you had that consultation?
Well, I went privately, and it was, he said to me, probably it will take 3 weeks or so, but I needed to come back to Canada, and I pleaded him. I said, look, you know, maybe somebody will cancel, or you can. So someone did cancel, and I was there in his, on a surgery table in a week.
Wow. So while you're on vacation back home in Lithuania.
That's right.
That's
unplanned.
Unplanned.
Right.
Yeah, it's you can't even imagine something like that happening in the Canadian healthcare system if you need surgery, especially for something like that where it's not immediately life-threatening.
Absolutely.
It's going to take a while.
Well, absolutely. My understanding is to get to surgery is very hard to begin with. Like in Canada, I was convinced that I don't need surgery and I'll not get surgery. You know, so. And here, yes, it was at the beginning. I was worried, you know, because I said, well, you know, how come in Canada? Well, they tell me one thing, and here this doctor, you know, then I was thinking maybe he has some interest, you know, like personal interest. Well, he will operate, collect money, and maybe I'll have still problem. You know, I was worried about that, you know, naturally, But really, the demeanor of the doctor, and I asked him questions, and again, demeanor of the doctor reassured me, you know, that I'm in the right hands, and I went for it, and now, I don't know, 5 years later or so, no pain, you know, running having quality of life.
That is important to know too, that this was not that long ago. This was when you first started getting the symptoms back in Canada. This was around what year, sorry?
Well, so maybe around 2011, something like that, 2010, 11.
Yeah. Okay. So it's so interesting to me that I've come all this way, and just pure coincidentally, the one Lithuanian I meet who has this big connection to Canada has also suffered in the Canadian healthcare system. It's very common these days, unfortunately. But thank you so much. I appreciate the time for you sharing your story.
You're very welcome. Thanks for listening. It was really, I will double on that. I went in Canada to saw a couple of doctors, and really very disappointing. You get rushed out of office, and and also I just remembered, by sheer luck again, years ago, I had another Lithuanian who came in Canada. I was there then maybe 19, 20 years old, and he was asking me to drive him to hospital, and, so I said, yeah, you sure? I'm a student, I have time, so I was driving him chauffeuring him basically to hospital. And after a few visits, I understood that he has ulcer, exactly because of the varicose veins, ulcer on a leg. And so what they were doing in Canadian system, he had ulcer that was already infected, so what they were doing for him, is basically changing bandages. Just changing bandages. Wow. And that's it, and really, and he was suffering with pain, and I don't know, I was young, I didn't ask him, but I don't know if he knew recourse of surgery or not, it would be very interesting to talk to him. But yeah, can you imagine, just instead of curing, we just treat.
Yeah, and I mean that's the big difference between the Canadian system and not just the Lithuanian healthcare system, but the Swedish healthcare system, Germany, France, Australia, wherever else. You have more options within the system. So if you don't have the money to use private and you're using the government system, it's going to be quicker and more efficient, because people who do have the money and can afford to use private, they go there, and it takes pressure off. It just creates more options for everyone. So you can go and see a specialist when you're worried about something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me in your home and sharing your story.
Thank you, Dom.